And I'm so happy to have Charlie Puth with me in studio right now. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Right off the bat, do you hate Despacito?
No, I like that record.
Because I was wondering because I see the "See You Again" track
Yeah.
being the most viewed video in the world for a while.
Yeah, it's been trumped.
It's been trumped, and I was like,
By
oh,
Despacito.
Man. Was he
No.
yelling in the middle of the night?
No, I love that record because it utilizes odd space, and it's the same thing that Attention does. Not comparing the two; they're two different songs, but at the end of Attention, I added an extra bar of like silence, and it's like the first time in a while where just silence has been on the radio for like 1, 2, 3, 4, like almost like 2 seconds. And Despacito, when Justin Bieber comes in, it's not 1, 2, Despacito. It's 1, 2, Despacito.
It's a rubato. It's a what's the term I haven't thought about this in school?
Retardando.
A retardando.
And it just builds up the anticipation, already anticipation to hear Justin Bieber speak Spanish, but like from his fans. But I just thought that sonically was interesting, so I've always loved that record.
I said the same thing. I think I haven't heard a writ in a pop song in a very long time, maybe since Someone Like You.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You don't hear those in songs.
No, you really don't hear that.
But that's what they're meant to do. By the way, if you're listening to this and you don't know what a retardando is, it is that moment of Despacito. Like picture a tailed conductor up in the front, arms in the air, bringing it in.
And your example of Someone Like You, it isn't over. Never mind. It builds up the anticipation. It's awesome.
You never hear it. You never hear that again. And Someone Like You is an interesting. I'm happy I plucked that out because that was the song that in many ways.
Look at that transition right there.
I feel good about it. I feel good about it as well. I'm so curious because again, when I was starting to perform music, there was no necessarily any apparatus for to sit in front of a computer and get it out there. You still had to go through the very traditional means.
Right.
What initially inspired you to sit down and want to perform on YouTube in that way?
Well, it always had to do with the recording process. I had a jazz piano teacher and a guitar teacher, but I never really understood guitar. But he just taught me piano. In the early 2000s, he had one of the first like home recording, like do it yourself $500 recording software programs on his computer, and every night I would go to his studio and like learn how to record and just become so interested with like the recording process and layering instruments in not in real time, because I always thought it had to be done like Brian Wilson, like put the drums in the middle, put the tambourine player over here, put the accordion player on the top left corner. It was the first time you sing that, like, wow, you didn't have to do everything all at once. You can like take your time, put a piano track down, and then put a bass track down after that. And I think that's where my interest in recording came about. And then YouTube was just, 2005, that was just like the video aspect. I could film myself recording in the studio and like, make a fan base off of that. So that was really interesting to me too. So.
And did I also read it had something to do with stage fright? You were a nervous performer?
Yeah. I was never going to be the guy who got up in front of an audience like at a talent show.
Why not?
Because all of my classmates would like make fun of me for like doing music. So I would just do high school, get it out of the way, and then go home and then make music.
So if I was to talk to your classmates at the time, none of them would have known that you were secretly like an extremely talented musician.
I guess. I don't know if they cared too much, but I didn't really care if they cared.
So it wasn't. Was it made up, the stage fright?
Yeah, it's all from my mind. And the first time I ever performed was in New York City. Like I sang in front of people. I was scared to death, and it was at Birdland.
Great club in New York.
Yeah, a great club in New York, great jazz club in New York. Me and my dad went on Monday evening, and yeah, that's the first night I sang in front of people.
What did you sing?
"Secret of Life" by James Taylor.
Why that one?
I don't know. It's in the C major. It's an easy key.
It's
Secret of life is enjoying the passage of time. And it was so low for me at the time. And I sang it in C major. And now I could easily just sing that. So it's interesting how my voice has evolved over the years. I basically taught myself to sing through auto-tune.
Like you taught yourself to sing but you have perfect pitch. Sure, but you
Auto-tune.
You sang into if you're listening to this, you don't know autotune. You sang, you then pitch corrected so that you were actually singing the I would say the technically correct notes. Like the
it tunes
correct frequency in terms of tuning.
Yeah.
And then you came back and tried to emulate the notes that you had just heard.
Well, I the first time I downloaded autotune to my computer when MySpace was a thing, and I have perfect pitch, and I get so irritated when the notes when I can't feasibly hit the note. I would always get so discouraged, and that was part of the reason why I didn't get up in front of people and sing, because I was worried about going off pitch. So when I opened up Pro Tools and downloaded autotune and highlighted my voice and just put it to F major. I remember that was the first key I ever used on it. I like cried because I could hear my voice like in the way that I wanted it to hear, and it's just that plugin has been so important, and I'm not ashamed to admit that either.
No, I think the stigma around autotune's pretty much gone by this point.
Absolutely, everybody uses it,
and why not? It's a tool. Let's listen to, speaking of autotune, and let's listen to one of those early YouTube videos that got you a lot of attention. Well, let's do it. Just take a listen to this.
That your dreams came true.
Wow, that's old.
Yes, she gave you things I didn't give to you. Old friend.
See how different my voice is?
Why you so shy?
Yeah.
Shy. Like you to hold back.
I'm trying so hard.
Or hide from the light.
All right, we can turn that off now.
Yeah, let's bring that down a little bit, Nick.
Yeah.
But tell me this. What do you feel? By the way, that's Charlie Puth with his classmate Emily Luther singing Adele's "Someone Like You."
That was 2011. I had just moved into my apartment in Boston, and I put that together.
Where's Emily now?
I have no idea.
You haven't been talking to her?
No.
Really?
No.
See, that was a very formational video for you.
Yeah. No. That was the video that kind of like got my career started on YouTube, and it was weird because it wasn't my song. So I always said to myself, I don't want to be a cover artist, so I can't just do covers. And that's what my mom told me to. And I basically just wrote a bunch of original music. Some of it was very bad, piggy-tailing off that original that original YouTube video.
But it was Ellen DeGeneres saw that video. Is that right?
Yeah, and she was the first. She'll always be a good friend because she was the first person who believed in me enough to put me on national television.
I mean, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
You know what I mean?
So I can go to Thanksgiving at her house.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what was it like getting that call?
Wow, I can't even believe how long ago 2011 was now.
I mean, I think for me, I'm 30 now. It feels not as long.
Yeah.
Like it feels long. It feels like I look back to 2011 and I feel like it was about 30 seconds ago.
Really?
Yeah.
It seems like so long ago to me now.
But I think when I was 25, 24, 6-7 years ago may have felt.
I was 19.
Well, that's a big difference. There's a difference between what you are now and 19 is huge.
It was the first time I had been to California too, going to that show.
Tell me about that call.
I remember she called me. I didn't believe her. I hung up. She called me again. I didn't believe her. She called me again.
Did she call you personally?
Yeah. And I just kept hanging up, unfortunately. But then...
Did you think it was an impersonator?
Yeah. I thought it was one of my friends messing with me. And then it turned out to be her. Flew out. Had a great experience. Had a full ride to Berklee College of Music. Didn't want to give that up, so I went back to college. And I'm glad I did that.
What did you study at Berklee?
Music production and engineering.
And what did you do? I often think about that, whether standardized popular or jazz music education inhibits natural impulses of creativity or streamlines them. What did you learn from actually going to a school that teaches you these things?
I learned that it's good to know that stuff, but not to. If a cake calls for a little bit of lemon zest, you don't squeeze a lemon on it, shave off all the shavings, and put it on top of it, and then put fake lemon flavoring on it. If it just calls for a little bit, you just need to put a little bit on it. It's the same thing with jazz. If you're writing a pop record and you want to put a little bit of like a diminished chord in there, you don't throw it all in there because then it'll sound like a smooth jazz record, which is not a bad thing. It's just like, if you're making a pop record.
Yeah,
you want
ease up, smooth jazz community.
I love you,
up.
Smooth.
I hear you. I feel you writing in.
They're all calling in right now.
And they're definitely using pencil and paper.
That stuff is great, but like, if the intent is to make a pop record, you just put a little bit of lemon zest on it on the cake.
But can you teach it? By the way, I'm speaking with Charlie Puth. Charlie, if you didn't release this new record and you stopped now and decided to live on a beach for the rest of your life, you would have had an incredibly successful career. And I want to get to that. But can you teach the type of pop songwriting that you do, or does it have to come from somewhere else?
No, I learned it from listening to the greats like Max Martin and learning from like Cara Diaguardi, great songwriter, and just listening to music, listening to great records, Marvin Gaye and Isley Brothers, and songs with early '90s pop music where it started to kind of take neurotic form almost, and it's kind of the form that we follow today, like where the pre-chorus has to come before the chorus, and it was only like a couple records, like a Gautier record, that kind of broke that format, and 5-minute long records for the radio. But just listening to music is how I learn.
And do you feel like popular music is much more formless than it was in the past? Do you feel like we're entering a time right now where popular music does not necessarily need to have those constructs anymore?
I feel like popular music nowadays, people feel like it has to be. We seem to be obsessed with the 808, and that's a good thing to be obsessed with. It creates the low end, but like 808's done like the exact same way. And what's really interesting, like the evolution of the 808, like from if you don't know this, the bass, the boom, 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 the bass that makes your feet knock. And 808's like with Run DMC and like Sucker MCs, there was just like a sine tone, because that's what it is. It's just a sine tone that's faded out, and now it's overly distorted, and it's not even really relative to like a key of music anymore, unfortunately. And it worked for like a second, but now it's just law of diminishing returns. Every record, every rap record, every crossover pop hip hop record is starting to sound like the same. So there's a different way to use the 808 in pop music nowadays. I haven't figured out what that is, but hopefully someone can figure that out. And when you hear it, you'll know it. It'll just be like a little bit different. It was like it'll be just used a little bit differently. So bass tones in pop music need to kind of do a little bit of a change up, in my opinion.
If you're listening to this and you have friends who are into pop music, and you just repeat that back, you will sound very smart. You will sound very, very cool. You sound very, very tuned in.
Yeah.
When you go from having stage fright, from going up on stage, having trouble getting in front of your classmates, getting up in Birdland and singing a song, but still a small club. You end up playing for stadiums packed with people.
Right. That's crazy.
It is crazy. How do you I think for people who are confident performers, they'd be nervous. But for someone who grappled with stage fright in the past, how do you approach that?
I realize that stage fright is a good thing. It's not the end of the world. That's everything. I tell myself that every time. If I didn't have stage fright, I wouldn't care, and that wouldn't be good. If I was relaxed, I would probably not give a good performance. I should be a little bit nervous and on edge, because I really care about the way the stuff sounds and how it looks. That's
where the good stuff comes from.
Exactly.
I want to play a couple of your really big hits leading up to this record, and I want to talk a little bit more about them. So right off, this is Charlie Puth and Meghan Trainor. This is Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
Marvin Gaye and get it on. Ooh, baby, I got that healing that you want, yeah.
That was recorded in my studio apartment in Los Angeles.
1625 in a modern pop song.
That's right.
Very cool.
Tried to be different.
By being classic.
Yeah, I was listening to Bruce Springsteen when I wrote that song, because it was just like very easy chord changes, and I was like, there hasn't been like a Motown kind of influence in a while. So
by the way, that's Charlie Puth and Meghan Trainor doing Marvin Gaye. The 1625 I was referring to, say if you're in the key of C, it'd be C. Gosh, give me a real C. C, A minor,
F major.
No, 2, so D, right?
If you're doing, well, let's do it in the.
Are you doing 164? Oh, what key is it in?
See, I don't know no numbers. I just know like what the chord sounds like in my head. So if it's E major, it's 1. E, yeah, D, E, F sharp, minor.
What key is Marvin Gaye in?
E major.
So E, C sharp minor.
C is the 6.
Yeah.
And then 4th is the A, da 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 dun, A, and then da 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 dun, B, and then to the tonic E.
So I was wrong. It's not 1 6 2 5. It's 1 6 4 5. By the way, if you're somehow still listening to this, if you haven't
if you're not drooling at your accurate TL on the highway right now.
If you're just driving down the road going, would these two nerds just give it up? I understand.
Home.
I understand that you didn't write Marvin Gaye for yourself.
No, I wrote it for CeeLo.
So how do you end up singing it?
It just felt right. I end up producing these records, and I put so much of my personality into them. It just feels right to just take it for myself.
Yeah, but that's a risk.
It is a risk
because at that time, I'm guessing it wasn't it was either voice CeeLo Green or it was just after you. This is radio FU CeeLo Green. Anything that he would have recorded at that point probably would have been a hit, and you weren't as well known. So anything that you recorded at that time probably wouldn't have been a hit. So where does that confidence to take that risk come from?
I don't know, just the pseudo arrogance of me standing behind it. Like, I made this. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, also great. I made it.
But I made this, and if you like it, I'm gonna sing it.
Yeah. And if you don't like it, I'm still going to sing it because a producer didn't come to my studio and give this song to me. This is in, Marvin Gaye is not the style of music that I make anymore, but it's still fun to kind of mess with the arrangement. And, now it's like taking this whole R&B lane when I perform it live now. And it's a halftime kind of like a new edition vibe right now. But, it takes on many lives. It's just a song. I just have fun writing songs.
Well, yeah, I'm really curious as to what happens when you give a song away, and more importantly, when you don't give a song away. And that leads me to the next song. If you at any point are wondering who I'm speaking to, if Charlie Puth doesn't ring a bell, it's going to ring a bell right now.
Yeah. Hold every memory as you go.
That's the bridge.
And every road
I love the bridge.
Take will always lead you home.
Very church-like.
It's been a long day.
Brought the ballad back.
Without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way.
That's the song "See You Again." That's Charlie Puth. You co-wrote that with Wiz Khalifa. It's a gigantic success. At the beginning of this interview, we talked about how at one point it was the most viewed video on YouTube. It is one of 3 videos to go over 3 billion views on YouTube. Only 2 other videos in the history of the platform that have hit that milestone. The top-selling song of 2015, and one of the first songs you put out.
One of the biggest rap records since Lose Yourself.
Tell me. I hear that when that came out, it was a similar situation, that they didn't want you to sing on it?
Yeah, I had just written Marvin Gaye, and that song came out after See You Again, actually. They were like, who is this no-name person? He has silly videos on YouTube. Why should we let him sing the song? Well, it's because I wrote it, and that's exactly what I told them, and miraculously, I ended up singing the song.
Was it miraculously immediately, or did it take some convincing?
It took some convincing, months.
Who did they want to sing it?
A lot of different people. They had I think over 15 people audition to sing the song. But, and that was okay with me, but when they told me that I could sing it, and then they were like, no, actually you can't, that's when I was like, you said I could.
What was it about that song, the song itself, that made you so confident that you did want to sing it? Because I'm sure there are songs that you want to give away and songs you don't really care whether you sing it or not. I
knew no one was going to write that song. They had 60 people try and write for that part, and I nailed it in 10 minutes. And I just, it sounds arrogant, and it is, but I just quietly tell myself that. So I knew that I was the guy to sing it. And, from personal experience, my friend passing away, it made a lot of sense at that time in my life because he always told me that I would have a song in a movie. So all that stuff just lined up. So I was very, very passionate about me singing that record. You're a really confident guy, and as you said, it may sound arrogant, and it is arrogant. And I think you're very self-aware about your confidence. Yeah, well, however, I don't boast about it. I just when the time is time. When you need to stick up for yourself, and that's advice for everybody too. However, are there moments where you saw how big that song got and you went,
Wow, I never could have predicted that.
Yeah, this song is bigger than me, and it's bigger than anything I ever could have dreamed of making. I still think that.
I appreciate you talking a little bit about your older music. I want to talk a little bit about new Charlie Puth. It seems like you might be starting a bit of a new chapter here. Newer sounding music, a new album. This is the new single from Charlie Puth's new record. This is Attention.
I know that stress is karma. You regret. You got me thinking about when you were You got me thinking about when you were mine. Now I'm all up on you. What you expect? Cause you're not coming home with me tonight. Oh, no. You just want attention. You don't want my heart. Baby, you just hate the thought of me with someone new. Yeah, you just want attention.
First single off Charlie Puth's new album, Voice Notes.
Probably my favorite thing I ever produced.
What? Who is you playing? Are you playing bass?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great bass line.
Thank you. It's fake too. It's Spectrasonics. This company called Spectrasonics. This their program called Trillion, and any music producer knows that it's like a classic bass plugin. And the setting is retro bass number 2. So go crazy, everybody.
Does that feel like a shift to you? That song?
Yes, that feels 100% genuine, Charlie. And it took 2 years to get there.
What else had to change within you to get there?
I don't know. I feel like I just had to prove myself and put out the instantaneous pop records, and that, in my opinion, was a risky one. That I didn't know how well that song was gonna do, but again, I was quietly arrogant. I stood behind it in my brain, and whenever I did promo, I wore it on my sleeve, and I was like, yeah, I made this record. It's like kind of like an 80s R&B soulful kind of Lionel Richie situation.
And some Daft Punk there, I hear that as well.
Yeah, with the guitars especially. I mean, a whole lot of influences from people who have been doing it for much longer than me. I just feel, even playing it now, I just like it just like lifts my mood up.
I want to just go a little bit outside notes and production and patches here.
Yeah.
What does writing a song like See You Again, what does that do for your confidence that allows you to put out a song like that? Could you have put that song out without having written See You Again first?
I think so. I don't know if my personality would have been the same, though. See You Again gave me the confidence, knowing that people can actually sing your lyrics back to you.
And gave you confidence in your own ability?
Yes.
Has that ever been in doubt?
It's in doubt constantly.
Really?
I never. Fun fact: the only time I've been super sure that a song is going to be a hit was See You Again. Whenever I'm making a song, I always have to ask my mom or my brother or sister or my dad or my friends if it's a good song, because I get so caught up in in this self-deprecating spiral, and I'm like, I don't know if what I'm making is actually good. I need people to listen to it, and if I can sense a good reaction, that'll give me like the juice to finish it.
That's interesting. Is a good song a song that you love or a song that others love?
A good song, to me, at first, is a song that others are excited about.
Yeah.
Close to me in my circle, not just random people.
Yeah.
And then if they're excited about it, it's almost like, oh, I'll show you more, like kind of mode. Let me do this now. Yeah. I've always wanted to be like the fix it guy. I feel like I'm better at fixing B+ records and making them into A+ records than writing from the ground up.
Really?
Yeah. I love moving parts around and arranging, and that's my passion.
You know Ruth B?
Yeah,
from Edmonton, Canadian singer.
Yeah.
And if you don't know Ruth B, she's the I am a lost boy from Neverland. Probably I can know from Neverland. You probably have the right keys.
Yeah, G major.
Oh, man. I'm fighting the perfect pitch here. She told me one time that when she gets into an Uber, she'll ask for the aux chord, and she'll play a new single or something she's working on for the Uber driver, and won't say it's her.
I did that one time.
Did you really?
Yeah, that's smart, Ruth B. Hello, Ruth B. I met her once. She's very sweet.
When did you do that?
I did it when I was pulling up to my house in California, and I just put on We Don't Talk Anymore a week before it came out, and the Uber lady was like, can you please tell me what this song was called? And I'm like, I don't know, and I ran out.
You worked with Pharrell Williams
yeah.
On this new record. again, you're a very self-assured person. You seem to have a great idea of what you want to make musically. So I'm wondering what does he lend to you as a collaborator?
Pharrell, not only being one of my best friends, but just someone I grew up listening to and like a huge influence in my production life, has constantly reinvented himself. It's just such an inspiration. He is all based off feeling. He doesn't know what he's playing on the piano. He just goes off of feeling. And working with him, he only works at 6 a.m. Working with him in those early morning hours, my brain kind of being half awake, just seeing how he works, it's like nobody else. So I mean, he brings feeling to his music and what we were working on. He brought so much feeling to it.
Do you fill each other's spaces, like the space that you don't have? Does he fill that for you?
He was like, I don't know, he was playing, da, 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 whatever. And I was like, oh, if you actually did this voicing instead, it'd be a little bit smoother. So when you got to the third chord, and he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Charlie. But like, he knows that it sounds better, and I love it when he gets excited because he like jumps around. It makes me feel good knowing that I'm doing a good job.
Well, because great music is a mixture of feeling and also a mixture of technicality. Technicality can often be kind of cast out as being uncool, but it's important.
It's important to have it. It's not completely about that though. DJ Mustard, who basically controlled summer 2015 with like every, and is still such a great hip hop producer. He doesn't even know. I worked with him 2 times, and when I work with him, he's like, I have no idea what I'm playing. It's just all based off feeling. So that's super cool. So I feel like I have that side of me, but I can turn on the super nerd conservatory side of me too.
But I know people who have perfect pitch who sing in choirs, and
Yeah.
if you're familiar with choirs, you know that when you get that many people singing together, the pitch is bound to go down. So
Yeah.
say if you're here, by the end of the piece, you're just going to be.
That would always bother me, and I haven't thought of it until like right now, until you brought it up. I used to sing in choir too,
Yeah.
and I would get so absolutely irritated when everybody would just sort of deviate from the original
It's
key.
natural. It'll happen, right?
It was so annoying. So I would run over. I would always, and I'm just remembering this now. I would always run over to the piano and aggressively hit the note. C. Don't go away from the C.
Right,
Don't go to a B. Don't go to a B flat. Go to C.
because it's painful.
It pains me now just like recreating it in my mind, and when singers are so sure that they're hitting it right, and they would get mad at me for going over to the piano, it took a lot. I would get so frustrated, but the choir teacher was very appreciative of it.
So can you turn? But when you're working with someone like DJ Mustard, when you're working with someone like Pharrell, who doesn't have that vernacular that you have,
You respect their genius.
but can you turn off your technical brain?
I can freeze it like a gym membership, and then when it comes time that you want to work out some biceps again, you unfreeze it.
I'm looking forward to your next single, Freeze It Like a Gym Membership.
Freeze it like a gym membership.
Charlie, one more thing before we let you go. You've won awards. You've topped the Billboard Hot 100. We've already talked a lot about all the accolades that you've
Which
had.
that still surprises me, by the way, that I've done all that. It's awesome.
Are you grateful?
I am very grateful. I'm humbled by it all.
Is it hard to stay humble?
It's hard to stay. It was hard to stay humble for one period in my life where everyone was like kind of just like yupping me up, but I've never felt so confident in what I make. So that kind of brought me down, and my family kind of keeps me level-headed too.
Well, that brings me to this question. A lot of people who are listening to this, friends of mine who are songwriters, can't even dream of success like that. And you're only 25 and you've achieved it. And as I said earlier, you could stop now. Without being gauche here, you could stop here, probably lead a very comfortable life.
No, that's not comfortable. There's so many more things.
Exactly, but you could live what our parents' generation would consider to be a very comfortable life, and you could lie on a beach. What does success look like after 25 when you've already achieved all of this?
Still doing it, maintaining the same passion. I equate it to a classical piece of music. You can play Moonlight Sonata. Everybody knows Moonlight Sonata. And you might know how to play it very well.
It's a Beethoven, by the way.
It's Beethoven piece. Very famous Beethoven piece. If you don't know, you should know. And it's a lifetime piece. You don't just say, okay, I'm done playing Moonlight Sonata. It's a lifetime piece. You play it until you can't play piano or when you stop living. It's the same thing with my craft. I play piano until I can't play piano anymore. I make music until I'm not physically able to get up. I don't really know what I would do without it, honestly.
It's not the pursuit of the hit song. It's the creation.
It's the pursuit of making people dance. That's what I want to do.
Charlie Puth, has been a pleasure.
Thank you.